If you're in the market for a luxury compact crossover, but you're not interested in what the European brands have to offer, whether it's the Alfa Romeo Stelvio, BMW X3, Audi Q5, or Mercedes-Benz GLC 300, and you don't really want to have the stiffer suspension and the tighter steering, what alternatives are out there that can give you the true embodiment of luxury? Well, you have the Genesis GV70, you have the Volvo XC60, you also have the Lexus RX and NX, depending on what your budget is. I'd even throw in the Acura RDX and also, of course, the Lincoln Nautilus. But today we're taking a look at the Cadillac XT5, a vehicle that's actually done quite well for itself over the last 5 to 7 years, where I do believe it's one of the best-selling models in the Cadillac lineup even today, right now, even with the car shortages. The XT5 has always been a vehicle that people have gravitated towards, and I think there's a few good reasons as to why that is. Cadillac has always been a luxury brand first. They don't really focus on the performance. They're not really going to give you a dynamic driving experience. And I think that's actually worked in their favor to a certain degree with a lot of old school buyers that are just looking for a vehicle that is comfortable, that is suitable for their daily needs, that also has soft touch materials, and most importantly, in 2021, more of a simplistic interior layout where you don't have complex technology. And that's why I am here. Last year around this time, I had taken a good long look at the XT4, which I think is a great subcompact crossover and a perfect alternative to some of the rivals in that market. And I think the XT5 can be a great alternative in the compact luxury market as well. So we're going to take a deep dive into this vehicle, see how it compares to other luxury compact crossovers, and also see why, if you're looking at buying a vehicle right now today, heading into 2022, and you want a vehicle that is comfortable, that is luxurious, that is a step above what you currently own, whether it is a Toyota, Honda, Ford, or Chevrolet, then maybe taking a look at an XT5 might be a great decision. Now, before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Colonial Cadillac in Woburn, Massachusetts for allowing me to do this review. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Cadillac inventory. Also, before we get started, make sure to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you're notified every time a new video goes live on the channel. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right in this review. Cadillac was once synonymous with the luxury market here in the US, as generations of buyers enjoyed the classy and opulent sedans this proud manufacturer once developed. But in the 21st century, this brand has had its fair share of ups and downs. By retooling and putting a lot of energy into crafting and assembling a crossover lineup, Cadillac has found a second chance at life, where it's not just the Escalade enjoying success, it's most of the SUV portfolio. Believe it or not, the Cadillac XT5 has been a hot seller up until recently, as its size, level of comfort, and exceptional practicality has made it an enticing option for consumers who are ready to upgrade from their family sedan or had no desire to buy a German or Japanese luxury crossover for their next vehicle. The only question remaining is whether it's still a great alternative in this segment for 2022. Starting off with pricing, the Cadillac XT5 in this review is a premium luxury, which is the mid-level trim in the lineup, coming in at just under $53,000. Differing greatly from the European competitors and aligning more with Lexus, Genesis, and Volvo's approach to the compact crossover market, Cadillac is not only prioritizing comfort and a pure definition of luxury first, but they're one of few brands where the performance model doesn't receive much limelight, as you can opt for Brembo brakes, a sports-tuned suspension, and also a V6. Exterior dimensions have also been a topic of discussion for the XT5, as in true Cadillac fashion, their crossover outsizes rivals to provide a more spacious interior, which in turn also positively affects practicality. Compared to the BMW X3 and Audi Q5, the XT5 is 3 to 5 inches longer and is marginally wider, and while some have made the case that this compact crossover should be considered a midsize, it's too small to be a direct competitor to the Lexus RX 350. For those wondering about off-road capability, the XT5 will have a ground clearance of 7.8 inches, which should be enough to take on unplowed roads during the winter. When it comes to the road presence, Fundamentally, not much has changed over the 6 years since it replaced the SRX in the lineup. However, Cadillac did make slight tweaks back in 2020 that drastically improved the front fascia of the XT5. As we discovered over the past year with other models in the Cadillac product line, the removal of the horizontal chrome accents for a sportier grille is a departure from the brand's identity and symbolizes a new era and direction for this American luxury brand as they begin to appeal to a more global consumer demographic. But by trimming down on the chrome, the XT5 is far more distinguishable on the road, looking streamlined but also classier than in the past. Adding to the upscale look is Cadillac's signature LED headlight design, with the DRLs and turn signals running vertically to integrate into the lower portion of the front bumper. Moving over to the side profile, this XT5 is sitting on the standard 18-inch wheels that come equipped on the Premium Luxury, but you can offer 3 different 20-inch wheel designs for a more aggressive appearance, but that will come at the cost of comfort, as during the test drive, ride quality was enhanced thanks to the softer suspension, but also the Michelins helped minimize road noise. You'll have body color folding side mirrors with turn signal indicators, to go along with blind spot detection for added safety. Then coming around to the back, objectively, there's similar body styling and angles to other crossovers within the GM family, specifically the Chevy Equinox that it's related to. Obvious differences, of course, boil down to the reshaping of the LED taillights, rear bumper, and dual exhaust outlets. Deceptive in appearance, the sportier roofline adds some sleekness to the XT5, but best of all, it doesn't have a profound effect on interior room where taller passengers may find themselves feeling claustrophobic. To help modernize the rear third, Cadillac does offer an Onyx package, which incorporates gloss black accents, but it's from this angle where the XT5 is beginning to show its age, and hopefully we'll see an overhaul in the near future. Under the hood, our XT5 is powered by the optional 3.6-liter V6 engine that puts out 310 horsepower and 271 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with a 9-speed automatic transmission. Specifically for this powertrain, the healthy increase in performance over the turbocharged 4-cylinder engine will inspire more confidence when entering highways. But more importantly, accelerations are smooth to provide a refinement when it comes to ride quality. Unlike the sporty crossovers in this price range, the Cadillac XT5 is still going to emphasize luxury even with the V6, and you'll feel that on your daily commutes. For the drivetrain, we have all-wheel drive today, which is an additional $2,000 if you're debating whether front-wheel drive will be enough to take on harsh winters. For fuel economy, you're looking at right around 19 miles per gallon in the city, and 26 miles per gallon on the highway. Stepping inside, you can buy power-adjustable, heated and ventilated leather seats for both the driver and passenger, with the driver's side being 2-position memory for added convenience. Compared to the smaller XT4 that we featured last year, the XT5's interior is of higher quality, not only thanks to the softer touch materials, but also visually as well. While technology doesn't necessarily dominate the dashboard layout as we see from rivals in this segment, buyers not looking for the most complex user experience are going to love the easy-to-use digital display between the analog gauges that will show a variety of relevant information. And by using the buttons mounted on the leather-wrapped steering wheel, you can customize what you see in front of you. Then moving over to the infotainment system, you'll have an 8-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility to go along with onboard navigation. Cadillac often receives criticism for not having the most in-depth user interface, as this market is home to head units that have set the bar pretty high. However, out of the manufacturers not named BMW, Audi, or Mercedes-Benz, Cadillac's integration of a rotary dial, touchpad, and quick access buttons gives drivers dual functionality, where if they don't want to reach for the screen and possibly take their eyes off the road, the center console offers a simpler solution, and in my opinion is quicker to respond. As we're beginning to see from many new vehicles, you can adjust the climate control settings from the touchscreen, but below you'll have buttons for your 3-level heated and ventilated seats along with the dual zone climate control up front to once again keep things simple and easy. Of course, you will have a rear backup camera with trajectory. However, the $2,275 technology package will add surround view, a digital rear view mirror, and a list of safety features to help aid in parking. Returning to the center console, a perfectly placed wireless phone charging pad will keep your phone out of sight, but also secure, which we can't say for some rivals. For the center storage compartment, you'll have enough room for smaller items and a USB-C and USB input. And rounding out the front seating area, above will be a panoramic moonroof to let in a lot of natural light to the interior. Now for passengers in the back, we're going to start off on the passenger side. And believe it or not, this seat is adjusted all the way back, and I don't feel claustrophobic at all. I have plenty of room to work with here. And that is one thing I can't really say for most compact crossovers, whether they are luxury or not, because for most vehicles in this segment, if you do adjust the front row seats all the way back, you're going to feel as though you're sacrificing some comfort to accommodate the people up front. And I think that this seat is adjusted to someone around the height of 6 feet tall and above, and me at 5'5", I'm comfortable. So the fact that we can both be comfortable at the same time is really great to see. And with the XT5 being a little bit longer than its competitors, that additional length is applied to the second row of seats. And really, this is what's really where the Cadillac XT5 can stand out. And I feel as though that when it comes to the practicality, when it comes to the interior space, that's really where Cadillac shines. And I think that's really where Cadillac can really focus and emphasize their products to people, specifically in this market where it is more conducive for a family or conducive to having people in the second row. But I do want to point out the fact that even though we do have a panoramic moonroof, it doesn't take away from the headroom. However, where the door frames are, that's really where I think taller passengers will hit their head on the headliner. But that's the only problem I've noticed so far in the second row. Now, for the center seat, there is no center hump. You will have a small little lip, a subtle lip, but that doesn't really affect anything at all, because I do think, and I don't really say this a lot for compact crossovers, you can fit a third person back here. Now, shoulder room is not abundant. This is not what you'd expect in an XT6 or a Cadillac Escalade, but it's still more than adequate. I think that if you had 3 kids back here, you can easily fit all 3 of them, and they're not going to feel claustrophobic at all. Also, I do think that if you have 2 average-sized adults and 1 small child, you can easily fit 3 people. And that's not something you can normally say for most vehicles in this segment. But also, since we don't have a center hump, the person in the center can sit a bit more compact and save some room for the rest of the people in the back. So I'm really loving this. I love what the XT5 is offering right here. Then, on the driver's side, this seat is adjusted to someone of my height, around 5'5". And obviously, I have plenty of legroom to work with here. This is exactly what most consumers are looking for. They want to have that practicality. They want to have that interior space. And the XT5 is providing that. Also back here on our XT5, which is a very well-equipped model, we do have 3-level heated outboard seats to go along with climate control, 2 rear air vents, a USB-C and USB input, and rounding out the rear seating area, you do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Now coming around to the back, you're going to receive, obviously, a power liftgate. And inside, behind the second row seats, you're looking at right around 30 cubic feet of room to work with, which is going to outclass the Audi Q5 and Mercedes-Benz GLC 300, also, of course, the Alfa Romeo Stelvio. And that is all due and thanks to the fact that the XT5 is longer than most of its competitors. And in some ways, that's beneficial, and in other ways, when you have people comparing the Cadillac XT5 to a vehicle like the Lexus RX 350, that's where the XT5 is going to fall a bit short. But when we see vehicles like this that kind of go against the trend, where they're either a little bit smaller or a little bit bigger, they get compared with vehicles that are not really a traditional rival. But when you are comparing it to a BMW X3 or even an Audi Q5, this is most certainly more spacious and more conducive for a family. If you are going on a road trip and you have more than 2 people with you, I think you can fit probably 2 to 3, if not more, bags of luggage back here, no problem. And also, even though we do have a lower roofline, I don't think it really takes away much when it comes to this rear cargo area. So that is really great to see. Then with the second row seats folded, you're looking at right around 63 cubic feet of room, which is on par with all competitors in this market. So when it comes to the practicality aspect, we saw this with the second row seating when it comes to legroom and shoulder room. The Cadillac XT5 really is a standout in that way, where when it comes to comfort and when it comes to daily drivability, that's where I think the XT5 really shines the most. Now, what I also like too, and we don't really normally see this for a lot of vehicles that are outside of Germany, you will have quick release tabs on either side of the rear cargo area to quickly and conveniently lower those second row seats, which is really a minor feature that I love to see. Also, of course, and I'm a big fan of this, you do have a rear cargo cover, which will keep all your valuable items out of sight. So if you are like me and you have camera gear with you or anything of value, you can leave them back here and have that peace of mind knowing that no one will be able to peek in and steal what you have. And then once you're done, just press the button and the liftgate will close automatically. All right, so we are now behind the wheel of the 2022 Cadillac XT5. And let's first go over the differences compared to the XT4 that we featured over a year ago now. And with the XT4, you're gonna have a crossover that is built on really a car platform that's similar to the Buick Regal, which is no longer in production, Chevrolet Malibu, and there were some crossovers that were built on that specific platform that the XT4 is related to. But the XT5 has underpinnings that are specifically designed for the SUVs and crossovers in the GM portfolio. We're talking vehicles like the Cadillac XT6, GMC Arcadia, Chevrolet Blazer, Chevrolet Equinox, and you feel that immediately when you get behind the wheel and go out for a test drive. Now, I'm pretty sure that the optional V6 engine is helping out with that SUV-like driving experience and that somewhat rugged feel that we are going to experience in other vehicles through GM. But what I love about the XT5 is that it is a lot more upscale than the XT4, and you feel that. You have a lot more shoulder room. This vehicle is nicely sized as well. Decent amount of headroom, especially up front. Now, of course, I'm not the tallest person out there as I'm driving this vehicle around, but I do like the fact that there is soft touch padding in the right places where I'm going to put my arms, and it just adds to the luxury quality of this vehicle. Now, of course, you're always going to have people that will say, well, it's not really comparable to an Audi Q5 or a BMW X3 or Mercedes-Benz GLC 300. However, what Cadillac is offering here, I think, is a vehicle that's similar to what we experience with the Volvo XC60, and I even throw in the Genesis GV70. The one issue that Cadillac faces, especially for this particular market, is that they haven't really gone all in on luxury. They haven't really done what they've accomplished with the Cadillac Escalade. When you look at what the Cadillac Escalade has done for the last full year, the 2021 and 2022 models, is that they really are now drawing in buyers who never purchased a Cadillac in their lives. And I think that when it comes to the XT5, you could totally have that same technology, same luxurious aspect make its way into this crossover. But whether it's for the internal combustion engines or EVs, I think Cadillac needs to go in that direction more. I think they're going to be successful in the long run. But what is drawing buyers to this vehicle? And I think it's that it's offering enough where buyers can hop in and they're gonna be a little more comfortable than what you experience in a Chevrolet Equinox or Chevrolet Blazer. You feel that with the leather wrapped steering wheel, feels really nice in the hands. Also, I think these seats are sufficient enough when it comes to overall comfort. They're not aggressively bolstered, and I think honestly this kind of ties into the fact that Cadillac is still not going to really make their vehicles dynamic in any way. Of course, you can go with a sport trim, but it's not going to really emphasize the tighter steering. It's not going to have the stiffest suspension. It's going to be all about comfort and luxury. And really, I think for most buyers who are looking at buying an XT5, this is going to really fit the bill for them. It is comfortable, especially on these horrible New England roads that I'm on. It does provide that comfort, and I think that's where buyers enjoy this vehicle the most. Also, the thing too is that it is a bit bigger than the GLC and also the BMW X3. So you get extra cargo space, you get a little bit more room in the interior, and I think that's what buyers, specifically in America, are looking for. They want to have as much comfort as possible, but that comfort comes in the play when it comes to the legroom, shoulder room, and headroom. What I'm really liking here too with the XT5, and really Cadillacs in general, sure, they are modeling BMW with their gear shifter and even the center console itself, but compared to non-German rivals like Acura, Lexus, they have an infotainment system that I think is actually easy to use, because you do have a touchscreen, but you have a rotary dial, touchpad, and quick access buttons. And I just wish you would see that a lot more across the board. So when it comes to driving this vehicle around and using this infotainment system while you're focusing on the road ahead, it's very easy to use. And to me, when it comes to the luxury aspect of this vehicle, that's what I'm looking for. I think too many vehicles right now are focused on the aesthetics and drawing you with eye candy, but they're not giving you functionality. And that's what Cadillac is giving you with their interiors. Even though the technology might not be on par with what we see from Audi or BMW, it's still user-friendly, it's functional, and I think for a lot of buyers who don't want to have the most tech-filled experience, the XT5 is giving them a great option. Now, getting into really the on-road driving experience is that the suspension is certainly cushy for sure. You go over the bumps and you kind of ride a bit. You kind of go up and down. And I totally expect that from Cadillac. That's what they've always been known to do. That's really an American style. They don't really want to give you the stiffest suspension, and I completely understand that. And when it comes to even just the steering input, very light but responsive. It's not European in any way, even though I think Cadillac is trying to model themselves after European brands. This would be comparable to what I've experienced with some of the Japanese rivals in this market. But for most buyers, what they are going to like here with the XT5 is that you do sit pretty high up in this vehicle. So when it comes to the front vision, you have plenty of it. The hood does slope down, so you don't see the extended hood, which usually is a characteristic of American vehicles. Also, A-pillars are somewhat aggressive, but they're not really going to create too much of a blind spot. And the side mirrors are pretty aggressive as well. You can see what's behind you. And then when it comes to rear vision through the rear windshield, you do have a decent amount of vision to work with there. So I think when it comes to what you can see around you from that safety aspect, I think the Cadillac XT5 is certainly a pretty good vehicle in that regard. What I also like too is that with the dashboard layout, it does wrap around you. It gives you a secure feeling. And of course, I love having a center console. It just gives this vehicle more of a premium vibe. Now, what we normally don't see in this market necessarily for a luxury crossover, I think when you get into the sports models, it's a whole different story, but we have a 3.6 liter V6 under the hood of this vehicle, and that is really uncommon for most compact crossovers, even though I think that the XT5 is borderlining on midsize, specifically the two-row midsize crossovers. And the fact that we have that, I think, is pretty special. Obviously, when it comes to fuel efficiency and where gas prices are right now, you're going to want to go with the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. But I like having the V6 under the hood. It gives you some more power, and it sounds nice too. But what I like too is that when it comes to the road noise, not a lot of it. You don't hear engine droning. You don't really hear a lot of the outside world. So when it comes to that aspect, there's a lot of quality to work with there. And compared to other compact crossovers in this market that I've reviewed recently, this would be on par with them. I've just put the XT5 in sport mode, as we are going to get on the highway very briefly. And interestingly enough, doesn't really come to life. You don't really hear an exhaust note or a fake exhaust note being pumped into the interior. Although the V6 does become a bit more prominent when you do get on it. So let's get on the highway for a very brief acceleration. Steering input does tighten up very slightly. I love the sound of the V6. You know, I think in the past you would say, oh, the V8s sound great, but the fact that you don't have a lot of V6s anymore, everything's going to turbocharged 4s, I love the sound. It really adds some character to it, and I think if you are looking at buying a Cadillac, you might want to go with the bigger engine. It gives you a bit more performance, 310 horsepower over the 237 that you're going to get with the turbocharged 4. So if you want to have a little more power and performance, definitely go with the V6. Sport mode doesn't really change up the driving dynamics at all. Steering is a little bit tighter, but that's basically it. You can opt for a sports tuned suspension, which might be a bit more engaging in corners like this, because I feel the body roll even at around 30, 32 miles an hour. So certainly keep that in mind. This is not really a grand touring type crossover by any means, but it does feel peppy. What I like here with the XT5 though is that with the V6, it is responsive. You got decent power off the line, and even though it's still going to prioritize luxury and comfort, it's still relatively quick for what it is. Obviously, it's not going to be an X3 M40i or SQ5 competitor by any means, but I do think it is an alternative to the Lincoln Nautilus, Volvo XC60, and also the Genesis GV70 with the 2.5. But I like the fact that it is quick to respond, though. That's not something I was expecting because, you know, Cadillacs, specifically for the crossovers, are not the most dynamic. And that kind of leads me into my final impressions for this crossover, because whether it is gas-powered engines or electric motors in the future, whatever GM wants to do with Cadillac, I want them to go in one direction or the other. I want them to go either all performance or all luxury, because what they've done with the Escalade is fantastic, and it's definitely drawn in a lot of new buyers. If Cadillac did the same for the XT5, gave you that nice infotainment system, full digital gauge cluster, also a little bit more comfort, even if it does cost them a bit when it comes to pricing, that will go a lot more in the long run than staying with what they've been doing for the last 15 years or so. I think changing it up and embracing what they've done with their more expensive models and having that trickle down to more affordable options would be definitely a great move for them. It would give them a little bit more leverage in the luxury market, especially when you are comparing it to even Alfa Romeo, Genesis, Lexus, Acura. I think Cadillac has a lot of opportunity here, and I want to see that in the future. So in closing, I think what the major takeaway here with the XT5 is the fact that it's more practical than most rivals in this segment, where you have a good amount of legroom, you have enough shoulder room where you don't feel claustrophobic, you can fit a third person in the back, and you also have better practicality than most vehicles in this market. Now, of course, as I said during the test drive, I would like to see Cadillac emphasize more luxury into this vehicle, or at least find a direction and stick with it where they're going to give you either performance or they're going to give you comfort that we see from, say, an Escalade or even a Genesis GV70. But I just think that for what it is currently in 2021, it's providing enough where most buyers can walk in and say, you know what, it is comfortable. It is providing me everything I'm looking for. I have heated and ventilated seats, at least on this particular model. I have 3-zone climate control. I have wireless Apple CarPlay. I have a vehicle that is a step above what I currently own, whether it is a Chevy, Ford, Toyota, or Honda. And the XT5 is, in my opinion, or in their opinion, and in their eyes, a vehicle that is providing a decent amount of value in 2021 or on the verge of 2022. And it is a vehicle that should at least be taken a look at. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Also make sure to follow me on Instagram at Boston Autoblog so you can see what I'm up to and what vehicles I'll be featuring in the future. And I will see you guys next time.